Good day, beautiful people. Welcome once again to your favorite program, our favorite program, The Conversation. Coming to you from TV360 here in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Nelson Ekujumi, and I have with me in the studio today, Comrade Titilope Gbemisola Akosa, Executive Director, Center for 21st Century Issues. Comrade Akosa, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, Comrade Akosa, in case we want to know, she's an environmentalist, apart from being a legal practitioner. And the conversation, like we all know, is a topical issues program that focuses on happenings in Nigeria and in the diaspora. Top of the bill today, we want to talk about the environment, the weather. In the last couple of days, we have seen that the weather has been unpredictable the way it has been raining. It has been raining seriously. In some 24 or 48 hours ago, it rained in some parts of Lagos, and we saw that the rains came with a lot of thunderstorm and windstorm, if I should put it that way. And sometime about a week plus now, the federal government warned about 30 states of the impending floods that will occasion this year's rain. And for me, for us on the conversation, we are disturbed that does it have to take the federal government alerting the states before they recognize that their responsibility also is about the welfare and security of their people? And again, I ask, when we're talking about environment in Nigeria today, it's like everybody has abandoned the responsibility of the third tier of government, which is the local government. What are the local government administrations doing to cushion environmental effect on the people? Because every time there's an environmental issue, there's flooding and what have you, we always see federal and state agencies, responding, as required. But the local government, are they supposed to fold their arms and not do anything and abdicate that responsibility to the federal and state governments?
I don't think so, and that's not also the real position.
Okay.
They have a fundamental right also to ensure that their environment is clean and it's suitable for human habitation. So at the local government level, if you need to know, we have what we call a Department of Environment.
Yes, I'm very much aware of that.
And they have somebody like a director who mans that, and that's under where we have the environmental health officers.
We call them wole in those days.
Not only wole, but they do much more than wole work. We have environmental officers in those departments, and it is their duty also to go around the community to look at where we have deaths, to ensure that it is cleaned and
so that our drains can flow.
Also, I know that state government also, we have the drainage department in the Ministry of Environment, who they do the silting, remove dirt and so many other things. And these are, even Loma itself also does a lot. They have street captains. I see, these are 3 tiers of, I would say, the 2 levels of government in the states. So everybody has their responsibility, and they are still doing it. What we can say is that they are not doing, it's not enough.
Is it from the local government or from the state? Which one is not enough?
I think if you combine all of them, if they were enough, we would not be crying foul.
No, Comrade Akosa, my concern as a Lagosian is that when I go on the streets, I live in Lagos.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I see EFAG. That's a team called EFAG from the State Ministry of Environment. I see when there's environmental issues like flooding, and it has resulted in calamity, I see NEMA. I see LASEMA as responders, and we have been educated that the first responders to every emergency in any part of Nigeria is the Federal Fire Service. That's what the Director General of NEMA said. So for me, when I see EFAG, I see the Ministry of Environment clearing drains. In fact, when it rained sometime this week, I saw that in some places, the rains fell trees onto the roads. I saw the Ministry of Environment respond promptly. So for me, I'm asking, I've not, it's, you see it once in a blue moon, local government environment, because I know they have an environment department.
See, let me tell you one thing. You must know that the local government has a whole lot of responsibility in terms of environmental issues. Not only that they keep the community clean, they are also responsible to ensure that the markets are also very clean. So, you see, just like I said, Lagos, we have this amazing number of population, which is almost 30 million and still counting.
Yes,
though people said we're 20 million, but I can tell you
25.
It's more. It's more than 20
million. Maybe the next population.
So with the kind of population we have a lot of people generating.
No, absolutely. When you have a large population, you must expect.
And then the number of people who are actually cleaning, they are not as much as the number of people
who are generating it.
That's a big issue. So which we must also deal with. And then government too does not have all the resources in this world to make sure these things happen.
That's a message for our viewer, because a lot of times people want to ascribe almighty to government, forgetting that when we are talking about government, we are talking about individuals like you and I who are presiding over our resources, and that resources is limited, but the demands, the need is enormous.
Yeah, and we also know that all our dump sites have been decommissioned. I heard recently, I don't know how far it's true, that it has been concessionaire to see how they reorganize it in a better way, instead of them constituting the kind of nuisance we all see all over the place. Also, there are different government departments that are also dealing with the issue of waste. People are taking on recycling. We're having waste pickers, those who are pulling up PET bottles from our drainages and from our parties, from different places, and then they are trying to recycle, and people are trying to monetize it so that people can make some money from it. See, this
waste to wealth.
Waste to wealth. All these things are going on. But one thing I'm not too clear about is how are we measuring the impact of all these activities we are putting into the system? Because it is one thing for all of us to say we are doing this, we are doing that, and we are not measuring it. If we are not measuring, there's no way we can manage it.
How do we know whether we are succeeding?
So we need to be clear about the impact of those good policies. For instance, Lagos State has banned single-use.
Yes, single-use plastic.
Where they've also banned styrofoam.
Yes.
These are right policies in the right direction.
Yes.
So it's something, and I think we as civil society also, we are doing a lot also to do a lot of awareness campaign, community outreaches. Some of our organizations too are setting up recycling, community recycling banks, and things like that. So if we need to harness the totality of all these activities to see what impact they are having. If there are gaps, then let us know where the gaps are and see how we fill those gaps.
Comrade Akosa, as you were talking, I was thinking in my mind, because like we all know, the conversation we are both having a conversation. Looking at the relationship of the local governments to the states with regards to the environmental issues, I don't think it will be a bad idea if the state governments organize or institute maybe an award ceremony for the cleanest environment, maybe on the yearly. Maybe that would because for me, I'm not too comfortable with what the local governments are doing.
You see, there is a kind of an overlap. If you look at the Nigerian Constitution, to actually, when it comes to refuse collection and everything, it's only basically with the local government. And we'll know that Lagos State set up LOMA.
Yes.
Of course. Obviously, they've taken some
of the responsibilities
of the local government. So the truth of the matter is that who is going to monitor what the local government is doing? So we need a lot of watchdog.
Yes,
not
absolutely.
Not only what the local government, even what the state
is doing. Yes, we need. That is why even the civil society organizations who are focused on environmental issues also need to come into the picture. Because, like you have rightly said, if we are going on a journey and we are not measuring that journey, we won't be able to determine whether we are approaching the end or we are still where we thought we had left. Or maybe we are even going in circles and not making progress. But because we are moving, we assume
no, because we are doing what we need to do, we are assuming that those policies are making impact. Whereas there are gaps.
We are not measuring.
There are gaps. If there are no gaps, we will not be saying, okay, we are seeing debt all over the place. Yeah. People are still throwing garbage into the gutters.
Yes.
And the truth is that we need serious, responsible citizens. Because
that is where
we need a change of attitude.
That's where the awareness and sensitization comes in.
Citizens need to change.
The attitude of citizens
habits.
is just
People
terrible.
throw debts anyhow. People throw pet bottles into gutters.
We know.
People block their gutters.
Drainages.
So we need those change of attitude, and that has to come from within.
Within, yeah.
Very, very important.
I agree absolutely with you on that. Well, the federal government has alerted the states that about 30 states are going to suffer from flooding that will be occasioned by the rains in this year 2025. And if there's an alert for 30 out of 36 states, I hope the rest 6 states are not going to sleep, because whatever affects those 30 states, the overlap.
Let me say this here.
Would even spread to those.
Let me say this here. All of us do a lot in alerting. What are the things the federal government is putting on ground to actually mitigate whatever disaster that will happen?
If the federal government is alerting, don't forget the Ministry of Environment. The
Federal Ministry of Environment.
Yes, the Ministry of Environment can only give advisory and support. The actual responsibility lies with the states and the local government.
I want to remind the federal government that last year they set up a committee to look into what happened in
2022
and the integrity of all our dams. You know, those dams are also part of the problem. Now, with this committee, where is the report of this committee? It is over a year now. We are yet
I think that is a question.
And I think federal government needs to respond to this.
That, yes.
Yeah, they need to tell us what did they find out? What is the solution? Okay. What is the way forward?
Well, we'll let us put it at that the call is on the federal government that the committee, to look at the environmental issues. We need to know the recommendations and how we are to implement it, whether in the short term, in the medium term, or in the long term. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go on a short break. You're watching The Conversation coming to you from TV360 here in Lagos. We'll be right back. Please continue to watch The Conversation. We'll be right back.